Yeah. Another thing that you talk about is how wood has influenced our evolution throughout the many years. Do you want to
Yeah.
talk on that?
Well, we often think that we're unique and that we obtained our characteristics of humans because we're bipedal. But in fact, it's clear that we share most of the characteristics that we usually think of as human, like our thick pads with fingernails, gripping hands, binocular vision, arms to grasp, and legs to move around with. But we share all of those with the rest of the primates. And of course, the rest of the primates are basically arboreal, so they lived in a woody environment. So we actually evolved, our whole body shape was in fact evolved to be uh, an arboreal animal, one in living in the trees, and it just happened that it's actually been really useful for us as we came down from the trees. We've always that those characteristics have been useful for us for getting about, making tools, and generally human and arms.
Hmm. Yeah. So really, our our ancestors we evolved like the perfect tools to be able to shape some of these tools.
Yeah,
We got the opposable thumbs. We're able to manipulate everything very well. We're
that's
very
right.
dexterous.
And not only that, but we also, it seems that we also gained a lot of our intelligence by having to live in the canopy. It's quite easy to live in the canopy if you're a small organism, but once you start getting larger, the great apes did, our closest relatives, then you not only then you have to be uh, much more. And it seems likely that we evolved our that they evolved their large brains, which we inherited, in order to be able to travel more safely around the forest canopy, moving between trees, putting on several branches. Things like orangutans are marvelous at actually being very careful, and they never fall out of trees. Really heavy creatures. Uh, and so much my theory is that we evolved our large brains, or the great apes did, which were inherited, in order to travel better through the trees. And then once they had those brains, they've also used them to design the first wooden tools. Uh, and all great apes make amazing nests, which they use by cleverly bending all the branches of their tree out of the trees and breaking them in set ways. They know about the mechanics of trees and the mechanics of wood more than most people do, and that's given them a good night's sleep and allowed them to sort of evolve develop brains because they had such a good night's sleep.
Hmm. That's interesting. So it allowed us to evolve better brains because we were able to sleep better and able to be more productive.
Well, that's right. I think everyone knows just how terrible you feel if you don't have a good night's sleep. And a good night, a long night's sleep, to go into rapid eye movement sleep and dream, those are the sorts of things you need to be able to do in order to recharge your memories. And that's something that monkeys really can't do because they have to sit on branches, uh, rather precarious, and they get pretty rotten night's sleep, and they don't dream anywhere near as much as humans do, or even the great apes.
That's interesting. So you're basically saying that in part the ability to to dream in the quantity that we do, as well as
Yeah,
getting a good night's sleep, is crucial to our development as a civilization.
that's that became particularly crucial when we came down from the trees because once you're on the forest floor, uh, then you have a terrible problem being eaten by predators. About 3 million years ago, East Africa was even more dangerous than it is now. The lions and hyenas and things we get now, but there were huge saber-toothed tigers, and even a lion, which is a species which is even bigger than today. So obviously it's incredibly dangerous. And the baboons that live on the in the on the forest floor, on the floor nowadays, they don't get much decent sleep at all, even though they're in a huge groups. They're always having to wake up and make sure they're not getting stalked. Um, and my theory is that the reason humans could stay on the floor was that we actually used the wood, took the wood down or got wood and built fires of it, keep predators away. So because we were safe, then we were actually then able to help our brains develop into the huge organs about twice as big as an ape's brain that we have nowadays.
Hmm. Yeah, wood allowed us to, take care of our basic needs, more efficiently, and allow us to give us that extra free time to use for whatever other endeavors that we want to pursue.
That's right, because the having wood fires not only enabled us to sleep better, but also enabled us to cook our food, uh, and that softened it, so it was easier to eat. So we could rejoice of our teeth, but it also meant that we could digest it chemically better. We didn't need to do so much. We didn't need to have a big pod stomach to digest the food. So that gave us some hours more time where we could sit around the campfire and talk, or go out and do some more hunting. Whereas things like chimpanzees, they they still have to spend huge amounts of time chewing, even though they tend to mostly eat really hard. So um, the fact that we could use wood to make fires is another includes. Lucky for us that wood is actually flammable. As it dries out, it's quite easy to burn, and so wood was crucial in enabling us to, as you say, free our time, brain, get some night's sleep, and then actually be able to spend time talking, learning how to, and making better tools.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. Um, are there any other examples of, other non-human apes that are using wood for tools, besides, of course, the nests that are built? Um,
Very much so. In fact, yes, the best tool users are chimpanzees. Quite a lot of chimpanzees make use little pieces of wood which they stick into termites' nests. That's a common behaviour. They stick the wood into the termites' nest, draw it out with an ant, and eat the ant. But they also some chimp in Africa in savannas. They also uh, use tools to into nests of bees nests, and have several to get in there, then to sort of remove it. So they got wooden tools to made bees. Another sort have digging sticks, which they use to uh, dig roots as well in savannas. And another savanna chimpanzee out in West Africa in Senegal, they've actually developed spears. It's the females who've developed them. They break a branch off, remove leaves, and the leaves stab into the holes in trees to stab bush babies, bring them out, and eat them. So it looks like the warfare almost tools to kill other things. That's something that our ancestors must have taken those wooden tools and developed them to make our own spears and digging sticks and nests and huts like that. So we're following the tradition of our ape cousins, really.
hmm. Yeah, that last one, that one sounded pretty relevant with the warfare type of stuff.
It,
You can
a
see where
real
we got
shock
that.
when they found that. It was a lady called Jill Pruitt who found that only about 20 years ago.
Hmm.
And of course, before that, we had the idea that chimpanzees were killing animals using that sort of using that sort of technique. So it was a shock to all anthropologists to see that what we used to think of as particularly human is something that which is also the apes did as well. The one thing we do is that we make stone tools to make wooden tools. Apes, they just break a bit of branch off and then then strip it and have the tool. What we have to make a wooden tool is to make a stone tool first, and then use that stone tool to carve our wooden tools. It's a rather more complex process. We can make better tools, but that shows that we have to have a much more big imagination to I want to make a wooden tool. So first of all, I've got to make this other tool, and then I can use that tool to make the wooden tool. So it's sort of twice as complex, really, but it produces much better tools. That's the advantage we have over the apes.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, chimpanzees are, of course, very violent in their cultures compared to their very, very close relatives, the bonobos, who are, uh, much less violent and they resolve their conflicts with sex instead of violence, and matriarchal instead of patriarchal societies.